KT Rolster is coming back on their form and they evened out the series up against SANDBOX Gaming. Unlike game number 1, we had a very different draft style and we are seeing more and more Ezreal and Yuumi comp on the bot lane. Yuumi, Ezreal, and Azir is a pick focusing on the late game. However, KT got LeBlanc, one of their favorite picks like Nautilus that enables them or guarantees them a leading game. So when Kuro has his game, well, KT was so easy to get a win, so they were a bit relying on Kuro's LeBlanc in this game. So, if the game went to a very late game, maybe LeBlanc, Assassin Champion, would have lost his power. However, KT was able to roll the snowball, very one-sided. So, the first highlight is the LeBlanc that we've been keep talking about. So Kuro was so smart going into that hiding vision for the blue team. So Leo and Gorilla was all very aware of LeBlanc, however, on the front. So Kuro was really smart taking a back route to get into that brush next to the mid lane. So even though SANDBOX players were keep looking for LeBlanc, they weren't able to catch him, and after that bait play, for about 2 seconds in that brush, Kuro was able to pop out and just chunk down Ezreal. So that assassination came in a clutch timing, so KT Roasters was able to gain a huge momentum. And there was this dragon fights that enable KT Rolster to showcase their power of team fights. SANDBOX has a very high synergy in terms of poking damage. However, OnFlick was actually being caught at the first, so they were not able to have a team fight they wanted. So, and Nar stunned Trundle at that point, and Yuumi also got stunned, so Yuumi's W was interrupted. And later on, Yuumi also made a mistake with the self-heal, so with a stacked mistake coming out of the SANDBOX side, KT was able to win this fight. It was not a 5v5 fight, it was rather like sustained skirmish coming out of KT Rolster. So we are having a 1-1 score so far. So let's check out who will be the POG for game number 2. It's Kuro popping off with the LeBlanc pick. LeBlanc could be one of the confident picks coming out of Kuro, and Kuro actually needed some of the support from his teammates, but he was able to pull a very fantastic performance based on the help coming out of his teammates. So this game actually came down to whether Ezreal and Yuumi can scale up safely or Kuro can interrupt them with assassin plays, and Kuro definitely was able to execute that perfectly on his own. Kuro with a full vote on his own. Even that this series, KT Rolster is coming back on their form. So let's check out what will happen in the decider game. Game number 3.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Jason, for the translation of the analyst desk. And we have upgraded our performance.
Yeah.
9 out of 9. English casters, let's go. Kuro
Finally, we woke up.
Yeah, we did. We figured it out. It took us a little while, you know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, you know, the first player of the game of the day, you know, you're not quite there yet. But
I mean, we
have,
start so early at 5 p.m.
I know.
How can they expect me to be awake and make the right decisions?
That is absolutely true.
It's not that easy, guys.
Yep. But I believe Sohan going to be staying here for KT. He had the winningest performance so far out of the 2 top laners. And so KT not going to be changing anything up. And we'll see whether SANDBOX can clinch out this deciding game, because so far, Red side has been the victor each time around, despite that champion not being picked up. So let's see whether KT can ride the momentum or whether it will be SANDBOX once again taking advantage of a counter pick, because so far it has been the last picks on red side that have picked up player of the game in each of our matches.
That is very true, as everything else here in the roster is going to be staying the same. Shout out to Aiming, had an incredible farming performance in game number 2 in that very boring game.
His Farmville game was well and truly on point. No denying that one.
The guy was, I think it comes to like 13 or 14 CS per minute, maybe even more.
I mean, he was at 360 at 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Which
I can't. I'm
pretty
from
impressive.
NA Atlas. I can't do that math in my head, so maybe you can help me out with that one if you have any idea what that could be per minute.
Absolutely
I
no
absolutely
No.
There's no way.
I can't divide 360 by 30. I just can't do it.
No.
No, it's too
Neither
hard.
can I.
No. don't even want to think about it.
Don't ask me to do it because I can't.
No. We'll see whether anybody in the chat knows, because so far the chat is just exploding with stuff that doesn't make any sense. So
Nice.
not entirely sure what that
Sounds
means.
about right.
Yeah, very perplexed. So let's get into ban pick for game number 3. KT, we'll see whether they change things up. Last time it was Zoe, Soraka, and Olaf as our bans, as we're just going to get out of the draft now.
Okay.
Nah, I don't want to do that.
Well, like, after game 2, actually, you guys are done. We're going to call it a tie.
Yep.
And nobody wants to watch what happened in game 2 again, so we're actually going to be putting T1 versus Griffin up next. No.
Yeah, we are. In fact, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back at 20 minutes in to the next game, because obviously nothing happens until about that point anyway, and we'll see who's going to win. That is entirely a joke. We're not entirely sure what happened in the draft.
Well,
But we are going to remake the lobby and attempt it one more time.
the camera was on Soan with a sheepish grin, so I would have to imagine that something happened to him.
Yep. We are still in the drafting music, though, so I feel like we should be talking about drafts. Although not happening just yet. SANDBOX banned the Aphelios, the Ornn, and the Yuumi on red side in game number 1. Very standard stuff over this side, because they didn't have to ban the Soraka. It does feel like Aphelios, Ornn, Yuumi, and Soraka are the most banned champions. Sorry, the must-ban champions.
Yeah.
With Zoe, especially against Dove, being a close 5th place. But we'll see whether maybe one of these more overpowered champions are going to get through. I like that people have realized that Ornn is just a champion that you should not let through, which is why we've seen it banned in the
took
2nd
long
place
enough.
on red side every single time. Yeah, it certainly did.
He had to get like 75% win ratio first, and then people were like, oh, you know, that's a pretty good champion. Maybe we should deny that from being first picked by the enemy team. And they finally started doing it, banning it on red side. You know that a champion is really strong when it gets banned every single time by the red team, specifically.
Haven't had any word as to what has gone wrong, but I assume that it is just a bit of an issue with the lobby and the creation there.
The client had a fever, so it's taken a bit.
Oh! Monka W's in chat,
It's
everyone.
taking a week off. Well, we'll be back next week, guys.
Don't say the fever word. No.
That's true. That's a scary word. They took us with the scary little fever gun every time we come inside the...
I mean, if one of us gets a fever, Brendan, like, I don't know what happens. Yeah, is it just like you solo casting if I get a fever?
We're just going to play the games without casters. You guys can just watch. We're just going to broadcast them.
Yep. Maybe they'll allow us to ring in from home or something like that, and they'll patch us into the broadcast. Yeah, sorry, from the hospital. That's exactly right. Yeah, what is actually the procedure if you do get coronavirus?
Quarantine?
Do you get quarantined?
Yeah.
Do you get to stay at home and be
No, I
quarantined?
don't think
or
so.
do you have to like go into like a big room of coronavirus people in the hospital?
I'm pretty sure you have to go into the big scary room, Atlas.
Oh god, I don't want to go into the big scary room.
Or a small scary room where everybody's wearing spacesuits because they can't touch you.
Right, yeah, because you have to have the hazmat suit on and stuff like that.
You saw Chernobyl, right? The HBO miniseries. Yeah, they're wearing the suits like that.
Yeah, okay.
Except modern version.
Do you know what the hazmat suits remind me of? Evolution. Did you watch that movie?
Nope.
It's a very, very old
Evolution.
one. Yeah, Sean William Scott, you know, really old. It had David Duchovny in it as well.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It was a great.
Is it about evolving stuff?
It is about evolving stuff. Basically, like, there's this meteor that comes from space, and it has, like, this organism on it that evolves really, really fast.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it's like an alien?
Yeah, and it gets out of control and stuff, and there's all, like, starts off as, like, little things, and then by the end,
into Raichu. And
yeah. And you got, like, crazy giant dinosaurs running around in the end. And I think in the end it becomes, like, this big sludge, and then it's, like, one weakness is Head and Shoulders shampoo. Yeah, it was a really strange storyline.
That is really dumb.
That turned into, like, brand placement in this like odd way. Yeah, I really liked it though. There's a few people in the chat that enjoy it.
Do you use Head and Shoulders?
I do not. No.
Oh, well, it didn't work on you, but at least you remembered.
I haven't been devolved by the Head and Shoulders as of yet.
Yeah, I don't want to devolve my scalp, so I wouldn't use
can't do that. But you definitely won't be getting any dandruff. That's certainly what the Head and Shoulders was all about. I can't believe we had this, like, full synopsis on evolution and we're still not into the ban and pick yet.
They're looking at multiple people's computers.
Yeah,
it's not even one person.
Have they checked the antivirus on the computer?
Did they turn it off and turn it back on again? Maybe
we're gonna need some more Wonka W's in the chat, I think. Oh dear.
Yeah, this is.
At least Kuro's having a good time. You can see big smiles there as Harai being very supportive of his mid laner, his player of the game. As now he's pointing at aiming for some reason. Not entirely sure what it is. Maybe it's aiming's fault that all the computers died. Well, as Gorilla is just wondering what the heck's going on.
They're all staring at OnFleek, I think.
Yeah.
Or Dove.
Maybe it's Dove. He broke the pick and ban with his
wings.
His deep voice.
Oh yeah,
that's what did it.
He's got a deep voice.
He does. Actually, I'm sad that we don't have the interviews because I would really like Dove to get the player of the game for this game so that we can have a chat to him. But unfortunately, guys, due to the coronavirus, that is not going to be an option for us.
Yeah. No POG interviews.
No POG interviews. No players making their way out onto stage with our cool graphics and all that sort of stuff. They are going to just be sitting in their seats.
But the show must go on.
It must indeed.
We're the media not allowed in here anymore.
Yep.
They don't get votes anymore.
Nope, and that means that the English casters can ruin everything a little bit more easily because we have a higher percentage of the votes.
Yeah.
Were you scared coming to work today? I was a little bit scared on the train.
I avoided everybody.
Yeah?
Yeah, I stood up when I could have sat down. I did not touch my face at all.
Nope.
If anyone was coughing, I moved away from them. That's like an early sign of the corona.
Yep, and you and I, we had dinner together last night.
We did.
It was absolutely fantastic. Your girlfriend cooking up an absolute storm. Thank you so much for that one, Dayong. If you are watching,
it was great.
It was. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, we had kimchi stew.
Mm-hmm. And some bulgogi as well.
Yeah, some pork bulgogi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was some good stuff. We had pork as well as pork.
Yeah, we had pork with a side of pork.
Which is exactly what I wanted, to be perfectly honest.
No, we knew with you coming over that was the that was the way to go.
That's the right way to do it. And here, if you ever visit Korea, everyone, just understand that eating pork is the way to go. It is just delicious.
Get some samgyeopsal. Go to the barbecue.
Yep.
And get those lean pieces. Well, they're not very lean, but thick pieces of bacon, basically.
Oh, so good. So good.
Really?
And do you know what's also good?
I'm really hungry.
Into the ban and pick. We had a delicious burrito together today.
We did.
I think we should be fine as far as food is concerned. We are going to have our dinner provided to us by Riot Korea after this match, so you will be A-OK, Brennan Valdez.
Okay.
Don't you worry about it. And we're also okay because the ban and pick is well and truly upon us. Zoe and Soraka both being taken away, much like in game number 1, as the Aphelios and Ornn also being taken away. SANDBOX probably pretty happy about this because they eventually won game 1.
Yeah.
And so everything going the same should theoretically move towards a victory for them. As Lee Sin the final ban, that is going to be the one change up so far. Yuumi likely to be the next one, but SANDBOX, they played the Yuumi in game 1 and game 2, sorry, and it didn't quite work out. So maybe they'll leave that one up. Let's see exactly where the ban is going to go. They're having a think about it, so it's most likely not going to be just the same ban as Ziggs is taken off the board.
couple of targets here against the enemy team as KT say, no more Senna Tahm Kench. We will take the Senna away.
Wow.
Will this trigger SANDBOX to take a Timothy?
Well, has it triggered everyone in the chat?
Varus
is the other
Tahm
question.
Kench could happen here.
Yeah. I'm a bit worried.
To deny the Senna Tahm Kench, of course.
Timothy Kenchins. Oh, dear.
Yep, there it is.
Well, I assume LS is just molding somewhere. I think he's streaming right now, which is pretty rude, to be honest, taking away some of our viewers. But he might be over there having a bit of a mold. We'll see.
Having a bit of a mold.
I think that's a thing that you can say. Is that a thing you can say?
If you're Australian, then yeah, I think so. But
you can
I
say
do not
whatever you
have the
want,
right to say that now.
No, you don't?
I'm not from the right location, so I can't. Varus Tahm Kench, they deny it, as was expected from the Valdanalyst.
Yep, thank you, Valdanalyst. You have nailed it thus far. As KT thinking about what they want to augment this center pick
Thresh, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
How about Thresh Jarvan? Jarvan seems pretty obvious.
Senna Thresh is a funny one because, of course, if you look at the lore, it's Thresh that ruined Senna's day. Senna probably not wanting to take too many lanterns just in case she gets sucked back in again.
Yeah.
Absolutely not what you want.
Maybe they'll pick, like, Bard or something. I don't know.
I'd like that, but it is going to be the support Senna this time around.
Okay. Not what I was expecting, but they say, let me show you how to play some Ezreal.
Well, hopefully it's a better performance than what we saw last time. Because Leo's Ezreal was a bit forgettable. Now Ezreal into the Varus is going to be the lane. Two very standard lanes here towards the bottom side, but Senna Ezreal should certainly have the poke and range advantage. And we'll see whether the Tahm Kench is going to be able to weather the storm, as Set is last picked in our first round. And that's going to be played by Summit once again. So now we're going to be able to ban away some options into the set. And let's see how it goes. Renekton and Gnar could be the bans to come out from SANDBOX to try and protect it. Of course, our good friend LS doesn't like either of those counterpick options, but now with the Soraka being taken away, definitely the best option into the set.
Maybe the Kennen could also be looked at. I feel like it can work pretty nicely with the comp they have already. And it's ranged. It does decently well against melee champions. We saw a great player of the game level Kennen out of Summit. But let's see what they are going to go for, if they do want to ban that away.
I mean, Soan was a Riven one-trick back in the day.
Yeah.
Are we going to see it?
There's the Gnar.
Yeah, this is what we were predicting.
Yeah, they take the Gnar away. I felt like Summit played fine in the lane against the Gnar.
Yeah, he actually out-farmed the Gnar.
Yeah, they say in the end, okay, we are going to take this Gnar away, which I'm sure, again, our good friend LS is probably maulding to the point of no hair.
Yeah.
After seeing that banned away.
Ooh, we're sinning. SANDBOX are well and truly sinning. This is just catastrophe of a sinning draft. But OnFleek going to be taking away Rek'Sai once again. We'll see whether it's going to be the Hob Rek'Sai, Hail of Blades, of course, or whether he's going to go the Conqueror. A little bit more late game viability, I guess, with that particular keystone, but the early game damage is certainly fantastic. Looking at the Rumble for the cataclysmic equalizing situation, and a lot of, in fact, everyone with very long-rangey Wombo combo style ultimates here with the Dawning Shadow, True Shot Barrage, Equalizer, and the Cataclysm to hold everyone in place. But it's once again into the Tahm Kench, which was certainly an issue for KT in their first game. And there's the Kennen that you were referring to. That's going to be the choice into the set of Summit.
Yeah, they only had an option to ban one more after banning Renekton, so I felt like it was one of them is going to get played, one of them is going to get banned. And that does come, in fact, to light here in game number 3. The Cassiopeia. This is something that LS loves into hard engaged drafts. And you look at the other side. Oh, okay, he's going to switch to Rise.
I do like Abyssal Voyage plus the Realm Warp. Does give you a lot of sort of teleportation options on top of the fact that SANDBOX already have 3 teleports being hovered, the amount of global maneuverability from this comp is going to be very, very high, and KT wanting to do exactly the opposite of moving around the map. They want to stay as a unit and team fight together with this comp. It's a lot of magic damage coming out of the top side of the map, but augmenting it with the center support that does do a surprising amount of damage, as well as the Ezreal that we'll be building towards Trinity Force and things like that, not exactly emphasizing the magic portion of his kit. Pretty well rounded here on KT's side, and if these Slicing Maelstroms are able to go off on top of Equalizers and Dawning Shadows and everything like that, it will be a very scary Wombo combo composition out of KT. But last time they ran a comp like this, it straight up didn't work. So yeah. I don't know what to expect.
I don't know. We're going to have to see if their engages can be a bit cleaner. I think it's going to be much easier to get effective damage with a Kennen and Ezreal rather than a Ziggs.
Yeah.
That we did see in game number 1. So I like the way they change up their draft there. The Ziggs, of course, banned, which was a nice little surprise on the red side. And Dove on the rise here. I feel like it's a bit better of a matchup in a vacuum in the mid lane, but we don't really see too much, you know, mid lane domination or one-sided plays there. We can allow for some really nice ganks, though, on the melee rumble, so maybe that was the idea, trying to lock him down and trying to get on fleek going early on in the game.
And also can augment Rek'Sai's ability to gank early on as well, as it is Hail of Blades Rek'Sai as we get onto the Rift for game number 3, the deciding one between KT and SANDBOX. And let's just see how things go as SANDBOX waiting.
Yeah, we haven't done that since the Kesper
I've
Cup.
forgotten that fan chants are even a thing.
I know. We're like living in the Twilight Zone right now. There's nobody around us. We're just yelling into the
into the abyss.
Into the abyss, into the darkness that is in front of us.
Yep. Well, let's see whether KT can actually make this composition work this time around, because last time it was a bit of an issue. This time another shot for this squad, and they've augmented it with a few extra options as far as damage and teamfight capability. See whether Mega Inferno Bomb is going to be missed in this game, as in not going in the wrong direction, but whether KT are going to miss it as an option.
Yeah. Because
last time it really didn't do enough. So it might be better. We were checking out the Ezreal runes there, deciding to go for the Conqueror this time around. We've seen Lethal Tempo really move up the ranks as far as the most desired Keystone option, but aiming wanting to have a little bit more, I guess, security with the extra healing. Ooh, thread the needle there on aiming side. I like it.
Yeah, aiming, picking up the first 10 gold of the game.
Yeah.
He's going to the ship.
Huge lead for KT. Straight to the ship. Don't worry about it.
And this is potentially another reason why he did go for the Rise over the Cassiopeia. 7-1. That's all right.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
11.5 KDA. So when he wins hard.
Oh, yeah. And Dove, of course, doing the most damage on his team. So he is certainly the carry for this squad as Tucson. Going aggressive, but is punished pretty effectively there. We'll need to throw out a few more of these Piercing Darknesses to get that health back. And I want to see what Tucson makes of this center support. It's been something that Gorilla's been playing a little bit in solo queue, but hasn't necessarily been popping off on it. Haven't checked out Tucson, but I assume he's also been putting the extra time, especially with how much more powerful center got in 10.3. But so far, this Ezreal is working out a little bit better than the one that Leo had access to in our last match. Because this poke is certainly working out. There's Piercing Darkness there from Tucson. Just constantly getting that poke damage in. If that turret shot had landed, it might have been a flash out of SANDBOX. And the first plate off the first push to come in here from KT. This is pretty tough.
Also take a look at the CS, because they're being pushed in over and over with that huge range advantage with the Senna support.
Yeah.
He's missing so much CS underneath the turret. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, he's having a really hard time. Even the Tom can't get near to help CS. And that's been a major factor in why Varus is missing so much of the CS underneath the turret. So On Fleek is going to have to answer that really quickly. Otherwise, I could see that lane going like that for quite a while.
Well, you can see aiming, getting some vision down. Remember, this is a Rek'Sai though, so the gank paths, certainly a lot of different options here for Unfleek to get into the lane. Moves on down. I don't know whether he was actually spotted on that ward, but aiming did move pretty far up the river. As our pings are going to go out, they know exactly where that vision is. So you can see Unfleek just back into the jungle. Going to be getting his first back off, and will move back into the Gromp that has just spawned. So Bertha going to be the next option for the Rek'Sai. Pretty cool, calm and collected so far in this early game, though. It's just the CS being the victory on KT's side.
Looks like he missed that cannon, which got me groaning.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see why the Rise is really annoying for the Rumble in the mid lane. It's not able to do enough now, but as the game comes along, that bouncing damage out of that champion is going to get more and more annoying for the Rumble, who has to stay in melee range if he wants to CS and push effectively. So you can see he was taking a nice amount of burst damage there already, as Bono was looking for a gank in the mid lane.
Yeah, had a little bit of a check-in on the top side. Someone actually struggling against Summit once again. Someone just finds ways to get farm a little bit better than most other players. As in goes Bono with the flash. And Dove's going to have to flash in order to get out of the way, but is able to get a lot of follow-up damage there onto Kuro. It's a decent first gank to come in from Bono, but not going to bear enough fruit to try and get a first blood. But getting the flash out of the Rise is definitely a good thing.
It's great timing. You know, you take a lot of pressure out of the potential Rise-Rek'Sai combination we were talking about. You also get him right after he teleported, so he has to go back. He's going to miss an entire wave. It gets your Rumble ahead in the mid lane. It allows you to roam over to the Ocean Drake, take that early. So at first glance, doesn't look like much, but it actually gets KT a nice small lead here in the early game.
Yep. Facebreaker, not going to find it. On to Soan, who's now underneath this turret, just trying to clean up these minions as best he can. Haymaker goes wide, but Summit has been able to shove this one out and is going to be able to get a cheetah recall if he would like one. 10 CS in the lead. Should be able to pick up the Pahage if he would like it on this back, but it might be something like an Intabi instead, or Merc Treads, depending on what he's scared of. And with the top side of the map being a lot of magic damage, you could understand the Merc Treads will likely be coming in. As Summit actually picks up the next wave as well. A little bit greedy here, but otherwise it's going to be okay. Spotted out as that Scryer's Bloom is utilized. Unfleek coming on down. See whether Bono is in the area, just guaranteeing this Rift Scuttler as Dove gets inside track in that mid lane also for the roam over. The SANDBOX have equalized this gold separation. Leo's still behind 10, but has been able to get himself back into this lane.
Summit's having a really good time in any lane that he faces. Doesn't matter if it's Ray or Soan, or if it's any kind of counter matchup that these players want to try to pick. He's going to have a good time. He's going to beat you in CS. That's kind of just the Summit effect.
Yeah, was even able to do this against Nogari in their last match as well. So shout outs to Summit, certainly one of our fantastic top laners here in the LCK.
He missed the cannon.
Yeah, he did.
Your Ezreal used your Q.
Yeah.
Mystic shot.
Oh no. Stun going to deny a fair bit of CS here, but thankfully there is a cannon minion. That is going to mean that Leo is at least able to pick up most of these. KT coming on over, looking for a steal on this blue buff as Gorilla. He's just going to devour it and takes the blue for himself. Yeah, nice work, Gorilla. You deserve it.
That was a change that was made, not sure how many patches ago, but it was relatively recent. Might have been at the end of last year that it did come in.
Yeah.
That the Tomkins can actually devour the big buffs that do come in, and he's like a mini Syndra where you can just deny it. He ends up taking it for himself, which is kind of unfortunate. Of course, the Rise would have loved to have that. So,
but now he's just going to devour so much more. Tongue Lash so much more.
Oh yeah.
So exciting. Definitely not the champion that you necessarily want to be funneling the blue buff to, but guaranteeing it for your team is what they were aiming for there. And I mean, this game is very slow. We are going to get either Mountain or Infernal Soul. Good news.
Nice.
2 minutes to go on that Cloud Drake spawn. See whether KT is going to lock that one down again. Their Dragon rate so far this game has been exceedingly high. Now Bono coming over, try and take down Shirley. Shelly. Tucson comes on in. They get the first roam over. She's going to go down and will be delivered to one of these lanes to try and grab some of the plates. Yep. Just elementary stuff.
Pretty simple. I mean, it's kind of what they did in Game 2, where they get little leads here and there with a couple of ganks in the mid lane, and then they're able to roll that into a couple of objectives, which we have seen already. They take the Drake, they take Shelly. They're not going to have this super dominant LeBlanc like they did in game number 2, but still, they're just getting nice advantages for their team, at least. Blue buff here for Vana.
He's going to take it himself. Yeah. No worries. We'll probably be aiming, being delivered a few of these blue buffs as the game goes on, but right now he's a little bit too far away.
You can always true shot barrage it.
Yeah, true.
I think we have seen that before, actually. Passing it over to the Ezreal in the bottom lane. Fun stuff.
Wants to hold on to that one for the moment, just for some extra battle capabilities. And Bono also wants the experience and the gold. That's going to help him out in this game as well. He's completed his Cinderhulk, and is going to be building into that stone plate as soon as possible. Shoutouts to Bono. I think that he has really repaired his play from a couple of weeks ago, where things certainly were a little bit wanting.
What is this Varus skin? Why does he look like a snake?
Yeah, I don't know. He looks like a Monster Hunter monster. Like it's one of the gear sets.
He does look like some kind of monster, that's for sure.
I'm trying to remember what the name of the monster is. And, True Shot Barrage lands onto Gorilla, does a fair bit of damage as Bono made his way in towards the mid lane. Flash is back available for both the Jarvan and the Ryze, however. So Dove is going to be absolutely fine. And he's farming up a Stomp. You know, this is the Ryze just trying to scale towards those first couple of items. And a lot of extra damage availability that will be there as KT were thinking about a dive, 4 members towards the bottom side. But On Fleek with the Tremor Sense knows exactly what's going on. They are going to deny that.
Yeah, we're just chilling. It's 11 minutes in. There's been a couple of attempts on the lives of the mid laners, but that's about it. As you can see, that SANDBOX considering fighting over the Cloud Drake. Maybe having some flashbacks from game number 2. You don't necessarily want to let all the Drakes go down without a fight, but I think what KT are going to do is put down Shelly, use that to get a bunch of plates, maybe even get this turret, to be honest.
Yeah, as Summit's just going to ult so on. But he will get stunned up. That Haymaker was invisible for some reason. There's a whole bunch of plates come in. The Equalizer goes down, but it'll do absolutely nothing. As SANDBOX have defended for now, but I have a feeling that this wave should be the end of this outer turret bottom lane, and tempo advantage well and truly there for KT. True Shot Barrage, Gorilla taking a hell of a lot of poke. As even the Piercing Darkness laid in over the top. And aiming does find it, so solo turret gold, I believe, going over to aiming, unless Tucson picked up a little bit of it. And now it should be KT using this map control in order to take down this Cloud Drake as well.
There's no teleport ward. There was no way for Summit to exit the lane if he wanted to try to, force a fight on their terms and get a bunch of kills.
There's the Flash Hail of Blades. It's Tucson. He has to flash to get out of the way. The stopwatch is going to be there, and now On Fleek is going to get punished. First blood at 12.5 minutes. And now Dove could be in trouble as well, and he is taken down. No Realm Warping out of this one, and now aiming, looking for Gorilla off the back end. This is just flow-on effect, and it's working out oh so well. Gorilla down to about 300 health as the Qs are landing. Oh. Another Harpoon's there, and aiming still wants this. Getting underneath the turret. There's the Mystic Shot. Good night. Sweet Prince Tahm Kench. The flash out of the way, but in fact it's not enough. He tried to get out of the face melter. The just Q coming in from the side, and now Tucson finds the heal onto aiming. This is a disaster. Almost an ace in for KT at 13 minutes.
Look at the top lane. So-On gets so much room after the Summit has to TP down on the bottom side. And I'm going to say one word that is going to describe why KT won this fight. It's stopwatch. Tucson survives because of stopwatch. And then Bono survives because of stopwatch. And it denies so much DPS, and it makes the tempo go so heavily in the favor of KT. Both Rek'Sai and Ryze did not have stopwatch. They baited their team into the fight, as KT were able to bait them very well with their own stopwatches. And then Gorilla and Leo get picked off here. It's so messy. The teleport is like 78 years late.
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
78 years?
He doesn't even have his ultimate. He's just coming in here and trying to auto them
that
down.
Mystic shot is just so triggering.
Yeah, Aiming's like, nope, you're going to die too. Summit nearly dies afterwards. Just a total mess of a fight there for SANDBOX as KT are like, yeah, sure. Rise and ult.
Aiming playing really, really well so far. His Ezreal has been good in the past.
Yeah.
He does a bit of, you know, arcane shifting into brushes with no vision. You know, he'll never be able to live that one down, but Aiming saying in that last little insight there, this is my Ezreal. And he's actually gone Iceborne Gauntlet. So a little bit of a different flavor of the Ezreal. We've seen so many Trinity Forces, but Aiming is going to have a lot more control. Teddy was known a little bit more for his blue Ezreal play. Now Someone just going to keep Summit out of this fight, and it looks like KT should be able to pretty comfortably siege this one down. Someone fighting with Summit there, but the Haymaker is not going to connect, and it's all too easily the outer turret in the mid lane being eviscerated by KT. 3,000 gold, close to 4,000 is the lead, 3.5k. And Tucson's got a QSS, as well as his Swifty boots. Love the Swifty boots. Real good
He's
stuff.
very swift.
Yeah, not going to get slowed down by too many of the frustrating abilities that are available for SANDBOX, especially via the bottom lane, so helpful.
Yeah, and this game, after that atrocious fight out of SANDBOX on the bottom side, has just
Tell us
totally...
what you really feel, Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit tilted after that went down, you know? SANDBOX, they're a better team than this, and it hurts when good teams make big mistakes like that. And in League of Legends, you can lose games because of that. And it might just happen here because, especially with double Rift Herald, there's very little wave clear without the Ryze. Ryze wasn't mid lane, so they just lost the turret without a Rift Herald. Then they're able to just rotate up to the top side right on timing, and everything is just, it's like dominoes, you know?
Charge comes in as well. I thought they were going to potentially be able to stop that, but that is a huge chunk on the inner turret top lane. A luxury turret that LS likes to talk about. Yeah. Certainly more about the financial gains than the map control. But the financial gains are well and truly there for KT. 4,000 gold now in the lead.
Yeah.
Should be 5,000 after this turret is taken, and there's nothing that SANDBOX can do about it.
It's just like a house of cards. They go into that fight, and it's like they flicked one of the cards on the bottom, and the whole thing just collapses like that. They're really far behind. Rek'Sai cannot do anything in this game anymore. We saw actually some pretty intelligent play against Stopwatch last week, where, I forget who it was. It was a Rek'Sai against a Gragas. He was able to identify that the enemy Gragas had Stopwatch, so he didn't engage. He ended up dying anyway. But even so, you got to know who's got Stopwatch, and you can't just go on a solo mission into the enemy team to execute a guy that has Stopwatch, because you're not going to get the kill.
Especially not when there's, you know, the rest of the army lying in wait in the area, right? Like, if you force a stopwatch and someone's alone, then, you know, that's totally fine. But
sure.
It was certainly extremely valuable in that last fight. And I just find it's so strange that we've had 4 kills so far in this game. It was off the back of 1 fight, and now it feels like SANDBOX almost have no way of winning.
Well, the Rek'Sai is going to be pretty useless in this game. I don't think there's much that he can do. He's the same level as Tucson. Yeah. As is Bono. I mean, that's kind of like the jungle effect nowadays on this patch, but it's still, you know, he did still die and lose a bunch of XP that he could have been level 10 and have some assassination power, but as it stands, he really is going to be not doing much. They're essentially just saying, I guess we have to wait for minute 40 for the Ryze split push, and maybe then we can win the game. But certainly right now, with Ezreal 2-0 and 2 with 2.5 items, it's his perfect timing with his items. And
prime Ezreal time.
Yeah, they just can't fight him. They can't fight him right now, and they have to essentially just sit back and let him and his team push every single lane. And that's why we're seeing them essentially just have to take it right now without being very proactive.
And now they're threatening Dragon Soul as well, so Soul Point in favor of KT. SANDBOX have been able to get basically no Drakes this entire series, to be honest. Space Breaker now onto aiming, but Arcane Shift is a hell of an ability. He'll be getting out of there.
I wonder if 2020 is like opposite year where you actually have to get excited for KT and they start doing well and they don't throw.
Don't say that word, okay? You just triggered every single KT fan
last
in the
time
chat.
against Afrika, people started to get excited and KT started to win.
Hey, that's true.
And now people are getting excited with them in the lead, and it's turning into big time leads in the game and wins.
Maybe that's why they started the season off so poorly.
Yeah,
because
no
everyone
one
was scared to get excited.
Exactly.
I
think I might have figured it out. Maybe 2020 is like the opposite year.
Yeah, there's a lot of Monka W's in that chat, man. I think you're scaring people. You're scaring people.
I couldn't help myself. If KT end up losing this game, you guys can all blame me.
Yep, that is certainly on Valdez, 100%. Build draw to Cutlass done for aiming, going for his Blade of the Ruined King as item number 3. Has that QSS though, and 20% CDR on top of everything else. And this Ezreal is in a great position. You were talking about mid-game Ezreal. Well, this is a very scary mid-game Ezreal right now at 19 minutes. Takes the chickens away, moves back to this lane, and will be able to park himself here very safely with the Iceborne Gauntlet helping that out so much. 400 gold bounty, because he's been able to farm so incredibly well. And being 35 CS ahead of the clock at 20 minutes ain't bad at all. The CS per minute has just been nutty so far this series. As, looking for a counter gank option was Dove, but no joy there.
And
also going back.
Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
They're both edging on down towards the bottom side, but smartly Sohan was probably given the call by his team saying, hey, there's no Ryze, there's no Rek'Sai, there's just Varus and Tom Kents. They could be ganking you.
Well, they're in the mid lane at the moment, and we're sieging on an inner turret. As KT didn't really feel like they had much better to do as the K-Ram was upon us. So one splitting on the bottom side, Dove answering that. And this minion wave is going to be taken down. Someone's going to probably go back and buy a Forbidden Book for absolutely no reason. That's just generally what these items are turned into.
You can see that Rumble has fallen behind on CS.
Okay, the answer to the Chains of Corruption was an ultimate Equalizer in the backline. Summit gets his Haymaker stopwatch, and KT continue this siege. They do have decent poke.
Stopwatch is a pretty good item.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
It's not a bad one.
I think everybody except Ezreal and Kennen picked it up in this game.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. For the side of KT.
Dove's dead, guys. As that's a Proto Belt, and Kuro's just burning down the Ryze. He's slowed forever, slicing Maelstrom. Oh, gets the flash out of someone. I don't know whether that was entirely necessary as the Rek'Sai is going to dive in onto the center, picks up the kill as Bono. Very tanky is aiming, trying to get out of this one. That's going to be the showstopper, but aiming. Oh, keeps himself alive. The double kill for the Ezreal is now Leo desperately trying to land what he needs to. He's not going to be able to, though, as Kuro finds himself a harpoon from the backline. And aiming, congratulations on your player of the game as KT move over towards the Baron.
For a second, I thought he was going to die because he missed that one Mystic shot, but then he just puts the set in the grave. Thought he could take him out, but with the Mountain Drake and Iceborne Gauntlet, QSS.
Oh my god, Mountain Drake was relevant in that moment.
It really was. It's really nice the way he's itemized as well. With the Iceborne Gauntlet, he has so many resistances right now. And the set, unfortunately, not really able to do much, and you can see here in the replay, SANDBOX says, okay, it's a 4-on-3 in the mid lane. Maybe we can get something going. They try to force it, but this Ezreal is just way too fed.
Yeah. He's a big boy. Tucson is taken down with the Rek'Sai ultimate, but unfortunately that puts Unfleek way too far forward. And Bono just walks into the Facebreaker because he just doesn't care and starts fighting Leo in the backline. And look at aiming, just outplaying entirely in this game. Wants to find that Mystic shot, but it doesn't actually matter in the end. 4-0 and 3 now for this Ezreal is 8 seconds, and we'll have a Mountain Soul available for KT. And grabbing the Baron buff, and then looking for this Mountain Soul. It has been just a game of snowball excellence from KT. As Dove is dead again, aiming grabs that kill very easily. Summit now on the backside is going to showstopper for some reason. but it's not going to keep him alive. Tucson grabs that kill, and this game's over.
Yep, the game is over. Certainly the show was stopped there by Summit. I want him to stop his show.
Yeah.
And, yeah, 2 solo laners get bopped. KT is demolishing SANDBOX, and it really did come down to that first, you know, disaster of a fight that happened with SANDBOX, where they got outplayed by stopwatches, and they funneled in one by one trying to assassinate people with stopwatches. And since then, they've just been looking really flat. The game has accelerated way too fast. It hit right at the item timings that were perfect for KT, especially the Ezreal.
Yeah, and they played really around it really well.
Yeah, doesn't really look like much hope now for SANDBOX, as KT are just destroying them.
Yep, and now the siege is going to continue, aiming with all of the extra control that Blue Ezreal does provide. It's now Soan trying to get out of the way here. Dove realm warping on top of the cannon, but Lightning Rush is going to get him to safety. Now Kuro has to use his Zhonya's in the middle of this fight, but he's still at full health. Cataclysm on top of Dove as now Summit has to be devoured. Gorilla from over the base gate, but speaking of over the base gate, in goes aiming, looking for these snipes, won't find the E. And just Arcane shifts away from On Fleek, who just cannot close distance onto this Ezreal. So much CDR, so much control, and aiming has basically won this game by himself.
Yep, he got a couple of kills in the early fight. He was able to snowball it very beautifully in this game, and it really is just the aiming show.
And I'm so happy that finally we're seeing the potential out of KT, because we knew that they could do this as Summit dives into the backline, the last-ditch effort for a team fight. He goes on to aiming not even under half health as he's Arcane shifting forward looking for Gorilla. They will clear out these minion waves and now try to take down SANDBOX under these Nexus turrets. First Nexus turret will go down extremely swiftly. On Fleek can't even find his way into the fight and so on. That was a zoning ultimate and a double kill now for aiming as he looks for Dove, who moves over to his fountain. Oh, the snare is going to land. Equalizer on top of Leo and Dove. Triple kill now for the Ezreal as Tucson sniping on the fountain. He will go down. Leo's going to grab that kill as now Kuro desperately trying to get in here. But there's the stopwatch.
Leo figured it out. Stopwatch.
Yeah, beautiful. Mystic shot is going to land. Can they find the kill here? Quadra kill for aiming, who Arcane shifts on, flashes out, and picks up a player of the game for himself. Congratulations to aiming. Oh man, brilliant performance out of KT, and this is not the KT that we saw in week 1. KT week 1 was win game 1 and then collapse. This was lose game 1 and then put everything back together. And that is a very proud Harai there, standing behind aiming. He hasn't had too many of these great moments, but this is a KT that do move out of last position here in the LCK.
Aiming with the absolute pog performance on the Ezreal is going to pick that one up. He's going to get all the love from the cameras. This time, no bias needed to figure it out. And there you have it. KT surprising a lot of people, as are, I feel, SANDBOX, who lose another game and are now 2-5. And question marks
even
are,
with KT.
Yeah, question marks are now raised. Like, SANDBOX, you were really good last year. What happened? Only a couple of changes, and all of a sudden everything falls apart. That's not what you'd like to see.
You actually, you look at the SANDBOX roster now and you think that it's an upgrade, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Ghost wasn't fantastic last year. Joker certainly going to be a downgrade to Gorilla, but they haven't found themselves here. This SANDBOX squad haven't quite figured out the meta. Their drafting's a bit strange. In game number 1, I didn't even really like their draft very much. They just outplayed KT at every turn.
Yeah, it was just a safe draft.
It was.
Where it's like, we can outplay the enemy team with this.
But I loved Tucson's center support. I think it worked out very, very well. Aiming overshadowing him with his performance, but Tucson certainly did put in the work on yet another new pick for himself.
That bot lane was like Challenger versus Diamond or something.
Yeah,
you know?
it was not
like,
great.
Oh, okay, I guess we're just going to lose straight up with no possible chance of getting back. They took the bottom turret at like 8 minutes.
Yep.
They got the Dragon Soul rolling extremely early on. And really was just bot difference and a couple of ganks in the mid lane. That was really all that happened. Plus the, again, the big disaster of a fight around the first dragon, which I'm sure SANDBOX would wish they could take that back.
Because like honestly, like after that one fight, the game was over. It's how it felt. 2-0-2 on the Ezreal. Aiming's performance was unbelievable, but when everyone funnels in on top of your Ezreal and you get completely outplayed with all of the stopwatches that were available, that was just the time that KT wanted to fight. And SANDBOX just said, here, have the victory. Like, that was
I have a
basically
present
how it
for
worked.
you.
Yeah.
It's Rek'Sai and everybody else.
Yep. And the
Here's a bunch
flow-on
of
effects
kills.
were pretty disastrous. So congratulations to KT. We're going to check out some of the highlights here of their victory. This was that moment that we were referring to as Gorilla does save Leo for the moment, but watch this Mystic shot. Yeah, sorry, mate. Somehow that connected instead of landing onto the minion. Oh, dear. I'm looking forward to seeing how much damage aiming did this game as well, because as Ezreal, you generally do a fair bit of your team's damage, and he was certainly winning every single fight that did happen.
Yeah.
Damage number's not going to be super high, because honestly, it felt like there weren't as many fights as we would have otherwise wanted. I think this is going to be another 9 out of 9, though, as Kuro got all 9 of them last time.
If you don't vote for aiming, you're trolling.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's definitely going to be 9 out of 9, as he's just one by one. Every single highlight is just...
It's like just aiming, right?
It's like an Ezreal highlight reel, basically.
Well, apart from that, he turned up a little bit late to that particular fight, but still was able to land the Mystic shots necessary. And this was just KT having a bit of fun towards the end, and Summit just stop picking set, dude. I just don't think that the set pick is working here in the LCK. It's yet again going to find another loss. And Sohan also proving himself here on the top side. Last time we saw Ray actually come in and save the game for KT, but now it's Sohan's turn. And he didn't necessarily lane against Summit all that well, but if you're playing not to lose, it does make a lot of sense when you've got a bottom lane that's so capable of carrying. As,
It's almost more damage than the enemy team.
it's over 3 times the damage that Varus was able to do this game.
Yeah.
And actually, is it? It's basically the same.
It's not, but it's like 2,000 damage short of the entire enemy team.
That's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous. Yeah, 2,000 damage short, approximately.
This is the Ezreal highlight reel.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to convince your friends to pick up Ezreal, you can show them this game.
And a 26-minute victory as well. It's one of our fastest that we've had so far in the LCK.
I wonder if we're just going to get more and more Ezreal if he just comes back into the meta now. Well, especially with Aphelios getting banned every single game, I think it's going to be a bit more common, as it used to be MF versus Aphelios every game.
Yep, and that's aiming. The gentleman with the blue hair, 9-0-5. His Ezreal was god tier this game. And I was going to mention that we've got T1 playing in our next match, and that's likely to be another Ezreal story, especially after this game. Teddy would be feeling pretty damn good about picking up this champ. I like that aiming brought back the Iceborne Gauntlet as well. I think that has saved him definitely in this moment, apart from the true damage being on the Haymaker, but he's able to tank so much more damage and play so much more aggressively, which is exactly what aiming likes to do.
I think if you see that the first couple of Drakes are not Mountain, because you can see it right after the first Drake is taken.
Yeah.
There's a 50% chance you get Mountain, and I think you have to build Iron...
Iceborne Gauntlet, yeah.
Ironborn
Gauntlet.
Ironborn Gauntlet. I think you should just build it like every time, because the amount of stacking you get with the resist, and then if you pick up Mountain Soul on top of that, you're just going to be so slippery. And if you're ahead at all, and you hit that power timing on your items, you're just going to have a great game.
Yep. And I'm just so glad that KT have found themselves, because this was a roster of players that I think a whole lot of people were really excited about, right? Like, watching Kuro, Aiming, and Tucson come back together after their time apart from being originally on a Freaker together, and then Sohan coming on over, who actually had a decent end to the split last year, and Bono also wasn't playing terribly in 2019 summer. Did have a very rough start to the LCK, but is now... He's role-played very well in the last couple of games. So let's check in on the standings and see how much further up KT have found themselves now after that win, because this may have shaken up the standings towards the bottom end quite a lot. As you can see, 2-5, both SANDBOX and KT sitting at the same scoreline, but the extra points that SANDBOX built up for themselves with a few extra wins in their 1-2 losses and also their 2-0s that they've picked up, namely in their last match against Damwon, that'll get them ahead. But KT now 2 wins in a row, trying to get themselves to the other side of that bracket and out of the relegation zone that KT has been in so many times after 2019 and now 2020 season. So get out of that relegation zone, get back to the former glory that all of our KT fans want them to get up to, because it's weird seeing the LCK with the KT not in a good spot, you know?
Yeah, it is weird. And they're now streaking. They've defeated 2 strong teams.
Yeah.
Although we have to reevaluate SANDBOX at some point. If they keep losing, then
yeah,
you know, they might not be as strong as we originally thought. But Afrika, certainly a big win there. And
yeah,
maybe off of these 2 wins, they can finally get something going. And
is this the momentum that we need moving into our next telecom war, that maybe KT can make it a bit more competitive? That is going to be well and truly down the line. What isn't down the line is T1 versus Griffin, which will be coming up in about 30 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you then.